Hello everyone, my name is Ibrahim Osage from Federal University of Lafia, Directorate of Center for Agriculture and Rural Development Studies. I will be talking to us on climate change. That is the topic for today's class. Let's get going. Climate change refers to long-time shifts in temperature and weather patterns. Such shifts can be natural due to changes in the sun's activity or large volcanic eruptions. But since the 1800s, human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal and gas. Burning fossil fuels generate greenhouse gas emission that acts like a blanket wrapped around the earth, tapping the sun's heat and raising the temperature. The main greenhouse gases that are causing climate change include carbon dioxide and methane. This comes from using a gasoline for driving a car or coal for heating a building. For example, clearing the land and cutting down forests can also release carbon dioxide. Agriculture, oil and gas operations are a major source of methane emission. Energy industry, transport, building, agriculture, and land use are among the main sectors causing greenhouse gases. So now, who is responsible for climate change? Climate scientists have showed that humans are responsible for virtually all global heating over the last 200 years. Humans' activities like the ones mentioned above are causing greenhouse gases that are warming the world faster than at any time in at least the last 2000 years. The average temperature of the Earth's surface is now about 1.2 degrees Celsius warmer than that it was in the last 1800s, before the Industrial Revolution. The warmer than at any time in the last 100,000 years. The last decade, that's from 2011 to 2020, was the warmest on record, and each of the last 4 decades have been warmer than any previous decades since 1850. Many people think climate change mainly means warmer temperature, but temperature rise is only the beginning of the story, because the Earth is a system where everything is connected. Changes in one area can influence change in all others. The consequences of the climate change now include, among other, intense drought, water scarcity, severe fires, rising sea level, flooding, melting polar ice, catastrophic storm, and declining biodiversity. Experiencing climate change diverse ways. Climate change can affect our health, ability to grow food, housing, safety, and work. Some of us are already more vulnerable to climate impacts, such as people living in a small island nations, and other developing countries. Conditions like sea level rise and saltwater intrusion have advanced to the point where whole communities have, have had to relocate, and protracted drought are putting people at risk of famine. In the future, the number of the people displaced by weather-related events is experienced to rise. We face a huge challenges, but already know many solutions. Many climate change solutions can deliver economic benefits while improving our lives and protecting the environment. We also have global frameworks and agreements to guide progress, such as Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and the Paris Agreement. Three broad categories of actions are cutting emissions, adapting to climate impact, and financing required adjustment. Switching energy systems from fossil fuel to renewable like solar or wind will reduce the emission during climate change. But we have to act now. While a growing number of countries is committing to net zero emission by 2050, emission must be cut in half by 2030 to keep warming below 1.5 degrees centigrade. Achieving this means huge decline in the use of coal, oil, and gas. Over two-thirds of the day's proven reserve of fossil fuel needs to be kept in the ground by 2050 in order to prevent catastrophic level of climate change. Adapting to climate consequences protects people, home, business, livelihood, infrastructure, and natural ecosystem. It covers current impacts and those likely in the future. Adaptation will be required everywhere, but must be prioritized now for the most vulnerable people with the fewest resources to cope with the climate hazard. So the rate of return can be high. Early warning system for disaster, for instance, saves lives and property and can deliver a benefit up to 10 times initial cost. So that leads us to cause and effects of climate change. So fossil fuel, coal, oil and gas are by far the largest contributors to global climate change, accounting for over 75% of the global greenhouse gas emission and nearly 90% of all carbon dioxide emission. As greenhouse gas emission blankets the earth, so they trap the sun's heat. This leads to global warming and climate change. The world is now warming faster than at any point in recorded history. Warmer temperature over time are changing weather patterns and disrupting the usual balance of nature. This possesses many risks of human being and all other forms of life on Earth. That leads us to the causes: generating power, cutting down forests, using transportation, producing food, powering building, consuming too much. So based on explanation, the generating power, generating electricity and heat by burning fossil fuel cause a large chunk of global emission. Most electricity is still generated by burning coal, oil or gas, which produce carbon dioxide and nitrous powerful greenhouse gases that blankets the earth and trap the sun's heat. Globally, a bit more than a quarter of electricity comes from wind, solar, and other renewable sources, which, as opposed to fossil fuel, emit little to no greenhouse gases or pollutants into the air. So manufacturing goods. An industry produce emission mostly from burning fossil fuel to produce energy for making things like cement, iron, steel, electronics, plastics, clothes, and other goods. Mining and other industrial processes also release gases, as does the construction industry. Machine used in the manufacturing process often runs on coal, oil, or gas. And some materials like plastic are made from chemical sourced from fossil fuel. The manufacturing industry is one of the largest contributors of greenhouse gas emission. So cutting down forests. Cutting down forests to create farms or pastures or for other reasons causes emission, since trees, when they are cut, release the carbon they have been storing. Each year, approximately 12 million hectares of forests are destroyed. Since forests absorb carbon dioxide, destroying them also limits nature's ability to keep emission out of the atmosphere. Deforestation, together with agriculture and other land use changes, is responsible for roughly a quarter of the global greenhouse emission. Using transportation. Most cars, trucks, ships, and planes runs on fossil fuels. That makes the transportation major contributor for greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide emission. Road vehicles account for the largest part due to the combustion of petroleum-based products like gasoline in internal combustion engine, but emission from ships and planes continue to grow. Transports account for nearly one quarter of the global energy-related carbon dioxide emission, and trends point to a significant increase in energy use for transport over the coming years. Producing food. Producing food causes emission of carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases in various ways, including through deforestation and clearing of lands for agriculture and grazing, digestion by cows and sheep. Also produce the production and use of fertilizers and manure for growing crops, and other use of energy to run farm equipment or fishing boats, usually with fossil fuel. Also, this makes food production a major contribution to climate change, and greenhouse gas emission also comes from packaging and distributing food. So powering building. Globally, residential and commercial buildings consume over half of all the electricity. As they continue to draw on coal, oil, and natural gas for heating and cooling, they emit significant quantities of greenhouse gas emission. Growing energy demands for heating, cooling, and rising air condition ownership, as well as increased electricity consumption for lighting, appliance, connected devices, has contributed to a rise in energy-related carbon dioxide emission from building in the recent years. Consuming too much. Your home and use of power, how you move around, what you eat, and how much you throw away all contributes to greenhouse gas emission. So, does the consumption of goods such as clothing, electronics, and plastics, a large chunks of global greenhouse gas emission are linked to private household. Our lifestyle have a profound impact on our planet. The wealthiest bear of greatest responsibility. The richest, um, the richest 1% of the global population combined account for more greenhouse gas emission than the poorest 50%. So that lands us to effects of climate change, which we have hotter temperature as the first point. As greenhouse gas concentration rise, so does the global surface temperature. The last decade, that's from 2011 to 2020, is the warmest on record. Since in the 1980s, each decade has been warmer than the previous one. Nearly all the land areas are seeing more hot days and heat waves. High temperature increase heat-related illness and make working outdoors more difficult. Wildfires start more easily and spread more rapidly when conditions are hotter. Temperature in the Arctic have warmed at least twice as fast as the global average. The next point is more severe storms. Destructive storms have become more intense and more frequent in many regions as temperature rise. More moisture evaporates, which exacerbates extreme rainfall and flooding, causing more destructive storms. The frequency and extent of tropical storm is also affected by the warming ocean. Cyclones, hurricanes, and typhoons feed on warm waters as the ocean surface. Such storms often destroy homes and communities, causing death and huge economic loss. Increased drought. Climate change is changing water availability, making it scarcer. Making it scarcer, not really scarcer, make it scarcer in more regions. Global warming exacerbates water shortage in already water-stressed region and is leading to an increased risk of agricultural drought, affecting crops and ecological drought, increasing the vulnerability of ecosystem. Drought can also stir destructive sand and dust storm that can move billions of tons of sand across continents. Deserts are expanding, reducing land more growing food. Many people now face the threat of not having enough water on a regular basis. A warming and rising ocean. The ocean soaks up most of the heat from global warming. The rate at which the ocean is warming strongly increased over the past 2 decades across all depths of the ocean. As the ocean warms, its volume increases since water expands as it gets warmer. Melting ice sheets also cause sea level to rise, threatening coastal and island community. In addition, the ocean absorbs carbon dioxide, keeping it from atmosphere. But more carbon dioxide make the ocean more acidic, which endangers marine life and coral reefs. Loss of species and climate change possesses risks in the survival of species on land and in ocean. This risk increases as temperature climb. It exhibits by climate change, the world is losing species at a rate of 1,000 times greater than any other time in recorded human history. 1 million species are at risk of becoming extinct within the next few decades. Forest fire, extreme weather, and invasive pests and diseases are among many threats related to climate change. Some species will be able to relocate and survive, but others will not. And that will take us to not enough food. Changing the climate, changing in the climate and increase in extreme weather events are among the reasons behind the global rise in hunger and poor nutrition. Fisheries, crops, and livestock may be destroyed or become less productive, with the ocean becoming more acidic. Marine resources that feed billions of people are at risk. Changes in snow and ice cover in many Arctic regions have disrupted food supplies. From hunting and fishing, heat stress can diminish water and grassland for grazing, causing declining crop yield and affecting livestock. And then more health risks. Climate change is the single biggest health threat facing humanity. Climate impacts are already harming health through air pollution, disease, extreme weather events, forced displacement, pressures on mental health, and increased hunger and poor nutrition in places where people cannot grow or find sufficient food everywhere. Environmental factors takes the lives of around 13 million people. Changing weather patterns are expanding diseases, and extreme weather event increase deaths and makes it difficult for healthcare system to keep it up. And then poverty and displacement. Climate change increase the factor that puts and keep people in poverty. Floods may sweep away urban slums, destroying homes and livelihoods. Heat can make it difficult to work in outdoor jobs. Water scarcity may affect crops. Over the past decades, from 2010 to 2019, weather-related events displaced an estimated 23.1 million people on average each year, leaving many more vulnerable to poverty. Most refugees come from countries that are most vulnerable and more vulnerable and least ready to adapt to the impact of climate change. So don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.